crazy nighttime burglary gone awry, with chases through winding country roads where sharp curves and shotguns nearly carry these men to an early grave. On this episode of Untold Capers and Crime. Welcome to Untold Capers and Crime. This episode's story will cover everything in the exciting scenes we just saw, and also reveal how a popular reality show ended up using stolen property as material in their property makeovers. Our guest today just wants to go by Bubba. When you're ready, tell our viewers about this crazy caper.
We were house hunters, but we weren't buying. It wasn't even the houses we wanted. What was the prize for us is what they were made of. Wormy chestnut lumber. It's rare now, and because of that, valuable to the right people. And yeah, I knew a guy. This kind of job wasn't a one-man thing. Always took three. Fat Steve was always in, mostly because he had the dangerous Dodge. That truck could haul a church. Steel plate welded under the bed and everything. Then there was Delmar, Steve's cousin. Delmar wasn't exactly college material, but he had tools, kept quiet, and worked hard. You don't need a degree for this kind of work, just a good set of arms and a set of work boots. That night's target was a barn on a forgotten patch of farmland. The owners were dead, the inheritors still fighting over in court. Eventually, it'd all be sold off or torched. We planned to beat the fire to the prize. No gadgets, no lockpicks, no Mission Impossible tricks. We brought hammers, chainsaws, pry bars, rope, and chains, just in case we hit the mother lode. Riding up to the farm, we noticed that there was a bright moon out. That would mean we wouldn't need flashlights or lanterns much, since there'd be plenty of light to work by. That also meant that we'd be easy to see, too. But since no one lived at the farm, we weren't worried about it. When we got to the farm, we noticed some tire tracks, going here and there, that did look too old. But there was nary a vehicle in sight. Even so, we sent Delmar up ahead to check things out. We parked outside of the road leading in, and Delmar hopped out. It took him a good 5 minutes just to walk from the truck to the barn, but it wasn't long after that before he gave us a quick flash of the light, that the coast was clear and we could pull on up. It was locked, no surprise. Even an empty barn has something someone might want to steal. If not, I wouldn't have this story to tell you. It didn't matter, though, because we had no intention of going through the door. Steve pulled his truck up against the barn and we unloaded the tools. We started with the top row panel when it was a 2-story. So to the roof we went. Cutting a hole into the roof might sound crazy, but we weren't going to get through that chain on the door, and damaging the wood wasn't in the cards. Besides, the attic space is where we needed to cut the panels away from the frame, so it was where we needed to be. We left that to Delmar, since he was the skinniest and most limber of us three. I was going in the top, too, but I climbed a rope he threw down, not the barn. Once the top was popped, and we were both in the attic space, we set about getting what we came for. Inside, the air was thick with age, like time had been sitting still for a decade. We got to work, quiet but quick. It wasn't all that difficult work and takes a lot less time than you'd think. Cut the wall where it's joined to the frame, however it's joined. Most of the time, it only took a few seconds. Then move to the next section. Delmar came in behind me and kicked the wall. One good swift kick, and down to the truck bed it went. Make sure the truck is waiting below, but this is where it usually gets tricky. Most times, people are around to hear all this racket. The saw sounds get muffled a bit inside the barn or house, but this next part doesn't. Boom! Boom! The boot hits the wall, and the wall hits the truck. Both were loud. Every time. And that was one wall. Boom! Another wall. Sometimes they hit for a perfect stack. Sometimes whoever is in the truck has to do some lifting. If it was too heavy a panel, it would probably get left behind. Boom! Another kick and another wall down. The only thing really that slowed the process down was moving the position of the truck to catch the fallen wormy chestnut.
Did you ever do this kind of thing in more populated areas? This seems like a lot of noise for a nighttime heist.
It's the whole, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around, does it make a sound question? If there ain't no one there, there ain't no one to hear. But yeah, we did it a couple times in places someone definitely heard. There was no time for a full pull down on those ones.
You do make it sound like it was an operation performed with some speed. I'm guessing through practice.
The sawing the panels off didn't take a whole lot of time. Neither did the kicking, but the truck needed to be moved every time. It would take all three of us to try and recover a missed drop, and we didn't have time for that. 20 minutes later, half the barn was skeleton framing, and the truck was getting full. We had lost 2 pretty large-sized panels from them bouncing or sliding off the stack when they hit, but so far so good. We picked up the pace from there. We finished the rest off in less than 10 minutes. Delmar went down to the truck to help out Fat Steve with tying down what we had. We tied them together as bundles in case we needed to make a quick getaway. As luck was find it, this was one of those completely out-of-the-blue times. I'll tell you, I wouldn't give you a nickel for Delmar's scouting skills. He checked the barn for people, but not the farmhouse. We hadn't noticed it earlier, but the tracks were from four-wheeler ATVs, and there were 2 of them parked behind the farmhouse. Needless to say, all that noise had woke the neighbors, or the partial owners in this case. We saw the lights in the farmhouse on now, and here came trouble down the path. We saw the outline of the guy first walking down the road toward the barn. As he got closer, we got a glimpse of something else, the double-barreled shotgun he was toting in his hands. We tied and chained down what we could as fast as we could as he started picking up his pace. With him almost up on us, we jumped in the truck. Steve cranked it over, or tried to. The starter motor had been giving him fits for a week, and what a hell of a time for one of those fits. Crank, 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 and nothing. Old Jimmy Bobby, or whoever, was fast coming up too, close enough now to get a bead on us. Finally, the truck turned over, like a gas-guzzling miracle from above, and we rolled out as quick as we could. Boom! Boom! We heard 2 shots echo behind us. The shot from the shotgun hit the lumber in the back, probably stopping us from catching one in the skull.
I don't think some lumber is worth all this, Bubba.
I'm inclined to agree with you. And, to a man, we echoed that exact sentiment. But we were in the thick of it now, no turning back.
I suppose there wasn't many options available at the time. I assume everything was secured before your quick departure?
Not exactly. We got about a mile down the road before we stopped to check on the lumber. We had left out of there in such a hurry we didn't get a chance to fasten it down all that well. Now was the time to do that, so we set about it. Steve had just finished clamping down all but the top bundle when we saw 2 lights behind us, single headlights coming down the road. But there was no car, and there is nothing past the farm. Steve jumped in the truck and started to get up to speed, but we saw that the lights were inching closer. As we were trying to figure this development out, the lights split further apart. No way that's a car, it's the ATVs. We couldn't just fly down the road with all that lumber swaying back and forth, but we didn't creep down either. No matter what, we couldn't outrun these clowns and keep the load too, so we were going to have to pull an okey-doke. In a nutshell, this meant to hide from them. We found a part of woods we could park into and sink into the dark there. We pulled into it front ways, hoping maybe the stack of wooden walls we were hauling would help hide us. Whether it was that or just the dark, they drove right past us at least 3 times. We did know that if they were out here looking, the cops weren't yet. It's a good thing this was before cell towers sprung up around there, or else they might have been called. At the time, though, that wasn't a problem to worry about. After waiting them out for about a half hour, we started out towards Steve's garage, hoping the drama was over. But the night had other plans. We'd been driving for probably 5 minutes towards Steve's, but saw the last thing we needed to see. Headlights coming up behind us with blue lights. Here they come, and Steve dropped the hammer. Floored it. Lumber be damned. There was a bridge up ahead and a back road next to it that leads to a bunch of private hunting camps. If we could get to that road, we could try another okey-doke. Steve was a little too anxious, though. Being on parole will do that for you. Coming around the turn before the bridge, the top bundle came off and flew apart what seemed like mid-air. Over the hill it went, but we had no time to mourn it. We got across the bridge, cut the lights, and creeped up into the road and turned the truck around off the side of the road. We were fully prepared to punch it and try to get away while the cop was turning around. We wouldn't get away with it, but we were gonna try anyway. The dangerous Dodge wouldn't let us down. We waited there for the blue lights and the man flashing them. The blue lights came, but not the ones we were expecting. It was some kid in a Fast and Furious car. Some wannabe street racer with blue underglow and rim lighting. We watched him fly by from the cover of the brush. We exhaled a little too soon, though, and didn't notice that we weren't alone on that road. A forest ranger pulled up behind us from doing his rounds checking out the hunting camps. Ranger Dave. We all knew Ranger Dave. He was a pretty cool guy, but he wasn't so cool that he wasn't going to do his job. The questioning was predictable. Question: "What are you boys doing out this late at night?" Reply: "Scavenging lumber to build tree stands for deer season." None of us hunt. Question: "Where did this lumber come from?" Reply: "A house a county over that's been caved in for over a decade. We had permission." The folks with the ATVs and shotguns would disagree about any permission. Question: "Why in the middle of the night?" Reply: "It's the only time Steve was available, and he has the truck." This much was true. Steve had a day job, and it wasn't house hunting. We had answers for all the questions, but not good ones. Ranger Dave didn't do anything but get information. But it was that information that got the warrant signed. We pulled into Fat Steve's about a half hour later with the lumber. We had to get rid of it fast and get some replacement lumber from someplace. First things first, though, the worst part of this heist. We have to pull every single nail, every screw, every staple, and every tack out of the wood. No metal, none. If it had any metal at all in it, my guy, who we'll call Doug, won't take it. It's pretty boring and tedious work, but today we didn't mind that. After the shitstorm the night before, we could use a little boring and tedious. We rotated in shifts, pulling fasteners, getting a bit of sleeping and grabbing a bite to eat. We pulled almost a 5-gallon bucket full of nails when we were finished. Once we loaded the truck back up with the wormy chestnut, it just looked like a big load of lumber. 5 big loads of lumber. Once it was torn down, it was a lot more than one load. We brought it over in 2 different trucks over the span of 3 days. Delmar had a buddy who lended us his truck. Well, not lended so much as rented. He was as much an addict as we were, so it's not hard to get his truck for a few hours, so long as you jingle in the right jangle. Doug's eyes lit up like Christmas when he saw us pull up. Maybe now is a good time for an explanation about Doug. Doug was a lumber wholesaler and retailer, but he specialized in lumber for restorations. Wormy chestnut is used in a lot of restorations of old houses and barns. Doug had aspirations at the time of getting a contract with a new reality show that did such restorations. Doug did this as work and, pretty much, his life. Normally, he bought old houses and buildings at auction, but that has started to dry up. Even worse, some of the auctions have resulted in bonfires. Just a huge waste that could be put to better use in Doug's hands. Right now he has stock, but it's way too low in the wormy chestnut department for that contract, and Doug is desperate. That's where we came in. He went to auction still, but like us, he wasn't buying. He was scouting. He told us the where, we came up with the when and the how. The why for us was in our hand, dollar bills. The why for him was that contract. He sold the producers enough stolen lumber that they could have just built about 10 barns, I'd reckon. Only about a quarter of it was obtained legally. The rest was all us.
I don't know that this would have been worth whatever you boys made in money, Bubba, even had you gotten away with it.
There were other near misses before this one, but even if we had another truck, this would have been the last rodeo for this kind of caper. It isn't always just the law you got to worry about. Prison sucks, but it doesn't buckshot in the behind suck.
You said, if you had another truck. What happened to the dangerous Dodge?
After hauling the last load, we split the money and went different ways to feed different addictions. This was a particular problem for Fat Steve, as his was amphetamines, and Steve had been awake now for 5 days. On the way back to his place later that day, he finally nodded out. It was the last time the dangerous Dodge ever rolled. The final time being rolling end of end. Fat Steve ended up walking away. but not unscathed. Regardless, it was the end of the house hunting, since it didn't do much good to tear down a house or building without a truck to haul the lumber in. About a week later, the law came knocking at our doors. Ranger Dave reported what he knew and what he saw when the people in charge of the farm reported what happened that night. The hard evidence was long gone, but they had enough to convince us to take plea deals. I ended up with a 2-year stretch. Fat Steve went down for 3 years, and Delmar got probation. It isn't hard to figure out who rolled and signed the affidavits.
So, after almost dying a couple of times, the finale ends in a jail cell.
They had enough with Ranger Dave's account, but they got a CI to wear a wire and trick Delmar into telling enough of the story to get a warrant. It all still stings, not because of the jail, but when it was all said and done, I lost 2 good friends. That was the real cost for me.
Friendships, marriages, freedom, money. Addiction can take it all.
It will, and, well, it did. Please like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel for more Untold Capers and Crime.